I played a wedding the other night, and I felt very silly halfway through, so I just went, oh. And you know when you check yourself and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And I went, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. What I meant to say was, oh, yeah.
Come on, Garrett, what are you saying?
So, hello and welcome to today's health conscious episode of the Red Shutter Club. Today I have with me the banana fiend, Mr. Ellie Horn.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Todo bien?
Está bien?
Sí.
I took 7
It's
years
really
of
nice to
Spanish.
be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Fruit basket and all.
How are you?
I'm great.
Well, I was worried that there wasn't going to be some sort of, what do you call it? Blue room? Green room with a fruit bowl. So I brought my own. You know,
Maybe we'll have that budget for season 2.
next time.
Do you want we'll put it in the complaint box.
I can't hear you, by the way. Should we start again?
We can start.
No, I don't know what's going on, mate. Okay.
I can't edit things out. So, you've been a musician in this scene for quite a while.
Yeah. I moved to Liverpool, as I was saying before, about 17 years ago. 17 years this year. And I've always played music up here with varying degrees of success. Ultimately not much success, but, you know, getting there. And I've been doing it full time for the last 7 years, which is a real sort of power move. No, it's not a power move. I feel very proud of that, holding this banana, saying that I'm a full-time musician. But it's taken a lot of work. And, so, yeah, now I play full-time, which is cool. And it's driving me mad.
Long stare into the camera.
But this banana is very tasty.
Hashtag not sponsored. But so what did that journey look like to get to be full-time? For 7 years to be full-time, that's quite a lot, I think.
Good question.
Yeah.
So I was working full-time at the O2 Academy. And I kind of rose up the ranks a little bit there. And I was working full-time, and it just kind of sort of took over my life, slowly but surely, as it did with lots of other full-time staff there. Shout out to anyone else who's still in the struggle. It's very, very hard to run a music venue and have a mind. So I had to get out. I wasn't playing any music, and I wasn't having much fun. So I quit with not much idea of what I wanted. Well, you know, the idea was to play music full time, but I had no idea how to make money. So I just bought an amp and started busking on the street right out here. In fact, walking down today was very much like my mornings. Sort of 6-7 years ago, I would have a little trolley, my little guitar on my back, and sit by Primark or whatever, play songs. And am I allowed to swear on this pod?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was shit. But it was quite a nice way of learning, really, while making rent. So I did that full time for kind of 4-5 years. Then the pandemic hit. That was cool. And we went busking in Sefton Park because there was no other way of making money. That was a nice little scene. A few people still remember that. we started going in Sefton Park at like mid-lockdown. You know, when you could leave your house for like a bit, but then like you couldn't like eat in a pub or something. You know that weird bit.
The in between.
You know that bit. Like you were allowed out with like no more than 6 people though, but they have to be one household. No, hang on. It's very confusing. That kind of like that weird dream that we all had. So we started going out in Sefton Park, and there'd be like 10 people and some dogs, and then the next week it would be like 20 people and some kids and dogs, and then the week after, like, we'd go out sort of every day, and like each weekend it would be like, oh shit, now there's like 100 people with picnics, and like became this like really cool, I'm not saying like Grateful Dead like park scene, but it was pretty cool. It was like there was a lot of people who came and like would spend the whole day listening to us play, and there was about 6 musicians that kind of either played together or rotated or whatever. And like, I mean, primarily it made us money so that we could eat, which was cool. But also there was a lot of people having like real hard times, like mentally, and they would come up and be like, this is the first time I've felt normal in like 18 months. And one guy was like, I was thinking about killing myself today. Now I'm not gonna. And I had a big hug with him. I feel a bit emotional saying that, actually. Woof, that hit me saying it out loud. Yeah, and then, and you know, he's still here, I think. So that was cool. And now, coming out of pandemic and all that, I play a lot of bars and got asked to run a few open mic nights, which is how we met. And so I tend not to have to keep the streets clean as much as I used to.
Goodness, that is quite a journey, and especially to be in the middle of that in COVID.
It was wild.
Yep.
I was kind of hung out to dry well, not hung out to dry. I was just one of those. I was one of the, like, the forgotten or whatever. There was a group on Facebook, and we were called like the ones who couldn't get self-employed help.
Is this different than your ginger group chat in the music scene?
You can't say that. You'll have to cut that. Hey, you'll have to cut that. People don't know about that. I told you that in confidence. I'm sorry. I'm out. Unbelievable. Why do you only think I eat yellow fruit and ginger fruit? Yeah, so there's this secret club for gingers only, and it's basically me, whoever else wants to come around, basically.
But only gingers?
Yeah. We hang around. We've actually got our own podcast, but we don't put it's like an intranet of podcasts. Yeah. Lots of information on it. But so the question was that you asked me.
I just said COVID. You said you were hung out to dry.
Hung out to dry, yeah. No, I was one of the forgotten. I didn't get any self-employed help. So I was just like sat in my flat, slowly spending all my savings, going like, I've got another month left. Cool. But luckily, lots of my friends rallied around, my family and stuff, and bunged me some dough. And also, shout out to Help Musicians UK. They were phenomenal and continue to be phenomenal. They're a great charity who helped out a lot. Fun fact, the last time they helped out as many musicians in a short space of time, other than the pandemic or before the pandemic, was when movies got sound. Because before movies got sound, every movie theatre had a pit band. So you'd have like a piano player to play along with the movies, which was silent. And when movies got sound, all of these musicians overnight were unemployed. So that was the last time back in the turn of or 1920s, was it maybe?
Oh, that's
Around there.
fascinating.
There we go. Podcast.
It's the fun fact of the day.
Yeah. Is this going well? Feel like
I
this is
think
going
so.
Cool. Yeah.
That is, I think that might be the funnest fact we've had. If you want that badge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another fun fact. If sharks stop swimming, they will die. I just found out that Albert Einstein was real. I thought he was a theoretical physicist.
We need like a little.
Did you hear about that kidnapping the other day? This is serious. Yeah, they managed to wake him up after about an hour. Ayo. Facts.
And now, a message from our sponsors.
Is this your mug?
It's my mum's mug.
Peterson Campoli. Should we talk about Peterson Campoli and Associates, CPAs, PPLC?
We can if you want. Be sure you.
It's a
watch
very
that
nice
one, yeah.
colour blue. It reminds me of Yves Saint Laurent's garden in Marrakesh.
Well, I'm sure that I think that was the inspiration.
If anyone's onto it,
if anyone needs,
we need a nice bright
yellow.
yellow to go with it.
Oh goodness!
Oh, there's a
All
banana.
right.
That's a nice bright yellow. Yeah. How are you?
So, did my mother pay you to?
We've spoken. There's an unwritten agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Nice to see you, by the way.
What we're looking to kind of study here is like specifically brand image and how that can help with success in the music industry. But to start, we need to define success.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. So, my wife and I, backstory of success. My wife and I were talking the other day, and when you talk about like your dream mansion, house, whatever. Not that we want a mansion, but do you ever have lottery dreams when you're like, "Wow, I could do all that stuff with all that money"? And so we woke up, and I was like, "Oh, I had a lottery dream. I can't remember what I had in it, but I was like, oh." We went on holiday and stuff. And we were talking about having loads of money. And she was like, yeah, when you make it as a musician. I was like, and I just let it hang for a while. I was like, what do you mean? I have made it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I play music for a living. For me, that's success. But I think we are sold this like great white hope when we're teenagers of sort of all or nothing, almost like fame and fortune, and it's very black and white, and there's no middle. There's like, you either are U2. That's the first famous band I could think of. You're either U2 or you're homeless, and there's no in between. And if you but I feel successful. I couldn't be asked. Well, I would love to go on tour 200 dates a year, but I quite like sleeping in my own bed. It's quite nice.
Fair.
What do you think success is?
I don't know, because I've heard a lot of different things. Some musicians, like I think James O'Donnell said in his interview that he felt successful as a musician now, not making anything off of it just because he was doing it and making friends. So I think it's very subjective, but I think being able to have a consistent living from it to keep yourself living okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty successful.
Yeah. I feel lucky.
Well, is it luck or is it work?
Oh no, I've worked hard, man.
Yeah.
I've worked hard. Yeah, it's been a long ride. It's been like, what's that Alec Guinness quote? He's like, it took me 25 years to become an overnight success.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I'm 36. Damn. Stage age 24. I'm 24. I'm 36. I started playing guitar when I was 16. So I've been sort of playing for 20 years. Playing with intent for 10 years doing it full time for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's doable. It's doable. Where's the other camera? There we go. Oh yeah, that one. It's doable. It's very doable.
Well, I know that was I was talking to my friend Ayana the other night, and I made a joke that I needed to do something last minute for class. And I was like, I'll be able to. I shouldn't do it last minute. I'll just luck out and be able to. She's like, no, you worked hard to get to the point where you could save it to the last minute.
I
And
guess
I'm like,
so.
you know what?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that a lot of us tend to attribute things to luck.
Yeah.
when It's not.
There's a lot of people that I've met in the last couple of years who I've spoken to, and they're. I feel like I'm quite aspirational. That's not the right word. I'm quite like I kind of like preach to people, going like, do you know what, this can be done. Like it's a real like it's a career that is possible, and I really hate people who kind of go, oh, you're a musician, that must be so hard, or like people who say like, oh, you want to grow up to be a musician, an artist, oh, it's going to be really hard. Yeah, it's going to be really hard if you're shit and you don't try. Like if you put the hours in, fucking put the work in. It's not hard. It's
if
like
you treat it like
it's
a
like,
job.
oh yeah, I want to be an architect, but I don't want to go to school. Well, it's going to be really fucking hard to be an architect because you need 8 years of schooling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've done my 8 years. You know what I mean? It's easy now. I know how to be a musician.
Yeah.
I've studied. Like I've put the hours in.
Well, I think that's important because you have to be self-taught almost, or you have to find someone who's willing to mentor you. Whereas if you want to be an architect, you go to school for architecture.
True. Yeah, and like being on the stage isn't something you can teach other than being on stage, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, stagecraft is a whole other thing of like, you can have music theory and guitar lessons and voice coaching and all that stuff. And then you shove someone on stage and they just go,
Yeah.
and turn into a pool of bananas on the floor.
Well, even like
I don't wanna.
I think you have to have a certain personality, or not a certain personality, but people have to want to work with you, which is,
Yeah.
I think, something that some people don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be somewhat chipper and nice, because if you're just like, oh yeah, man, just like, oh, then no one wants to work with you. So it's also kind of knowing how to network and,
Yeah.
you know.
There's a few of my pals that obviously not all, but most gigs happen in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my pals who are full-time musicians, we kind of twiddle our thumbs in the daytime and we go and hang out and play tennis and try and exercise and get our heads back together and all that kind of stuff. But I was talking to a few of them about the sort of job roles, this dream that you're sold when you're 16, that this big stadium dream of you're going to have a roadie, you're going to have a guitar tech, you're going to have a manager, you're going to have a tour manager, all this kind of stuff, and you just need to be good at guitar. Like, that's completely out the window. And nowadays it's like you have to be a maitre d', you have to be a compere, you have to be a comedian, you have to be a bouncer, you have to be a great musician, you have to be all these kind of stuff, like,
Mm-hmm.
just to get through, or not just to get through, but you can't just turn up, put your head down, get on with it, and then leave and expect to like get another gig. It's like, hang on, like, you're being booked for more than, it's entertainment rather than, you know what I mean? As soon as you realize you're an entertainer, like, get up and, be fun.
Yeah, you have to get to the point where you can be moody first.
True, yeah. I was very much a head down shoegazer for the most of my 20s, and I didn't want to talk to anyone on or off stage. So that didn't really help, but I think I've kind of sort of grown out of it. Sort of.
Well, is a certain stage presence something that you've had to build then?
Unsure. I think I've just slowly got better at it, or more comfortable with being thrown into thrown to the sharks, because sometimes, like, you know, you don't do the same gig every night.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a residency or say running an open mic night, I know exactly what to expect, and I know roughly who's going to be there and what kind of crowd. So there's no anxiety pre-performance with that. But then you get booked for whatever kind of event, and you've no idea who's going to be there. So you're not really sure what set list to prepare. So you're not really sure. So that the kind of pre-gig nerves will always be there for me anyway. But yeah, slowly get over them, I think.
Well, that is something that we've found. I think a lot of people who've come on have talked about their stage presence or their brand really was just them getting comfortable on stage enough to be themselves.
Yeah.
And being able to show that genuine side, even though you might be out of your mind anxious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, like, what do you call it? The branding yourself, self-branding or whatever.
Self-branding.
Yeah.
Personal image.
Personal
branding.
image. I think all of that, for I'd say 99% of musicians, all of that is completely secondary and like comes only once someone says, "Have you thought about this, by the way?" Because you don't pick up a guitar at 16 and go, I wonder how I'm going to do my hair before I write this song. Or like, you know, I wonder how I'm going to appear on the magazines or market myself. You just write songs.
Well, it's a very interesting industry to look at from a business perspective, I think, because it's full of creatives, and, you know, when you're writing music for a lot of people, it's a very emotional thing. So to look at it from a business perspective, I get how that can feel like just kind of fake or fraudish, or from a strategy perspective for some.
Yeah. What was the question?
I don't think there was one.
I don't think there was.
Just
I
chatting
can
shit.
embellish on that if you'd like.
Go on then.
Yeah, I think business and music is like, I was talking to John Witherspoon about this actually. You can pick this up later on. Talking about sort of like self-worth as artists and as musicians, and that has a lot to do with, that's just someone's personality, because there can be a lot of people who are pretty bang average at singing and guitar, but they will do fantastically well because they are so full of themselves and they're like, yeah, I'm amazing. And but I think people like John and myself are slightly more not self-assured, I guess, or suffer from, what's it called? Faker syndrome or whatever.
Imposter
syndrome, that's the one. And when you translate that to a sort of business and trying to make money from things, it's not the best trait to have.
It's not. Because if you don't believe it, your client's not going to believe it. I was telling this to a friend of mine who's training to be a hairdresser. Right. And so she asked if she could practice on me. And she kept vocalizing like, oh, I don't know if that's, or she'd be like, oh, and this isn't quite right, and this isn't quite right. When I'm looking at myself and I'm like, it looks fine, you know, it's just some highlights, they're gonna blend in. But I said to her, don't say that, say it to me, because I'm your friend. But if you say that to a client who isn't trained, they're most likely not gonna see what you're seeing.
True.
So stop saying that. I know, I'm sorry, but I'm like, no, stop it. You're not marketing. You've got to show them that you're convinced, even if you're not. Yeah. There is something to be said about like a false confidence, though. Yeah. Sometimes you can really see it.
And most success, like real success in the music industry, is all bullshit anyway. It's all smoke and mirrors, and it's all like, you know, good camera angles and carefully planned campaigns to make people sort of fall in love with the product, the band, which, you know, teams of management and label stuff all have kind of carefully planned. But you know, it's like, it would be stupid of me to say like, oh, I don't think about those kind of stuff. I kind of do. You know, I'd love a manager to plan out my next campaign. I've just finished writing and recording my second album, and sort of trying to work out how to release it on my own, on my own label, with no management, it's just me. And I'm like, wow, it's just so much work. I almost can't bring myself to even release the first single, because it's just,
I don't think people
very
realize
overwhelming
how much work it breaks down into. Even doing like something as simple as like, oh yeah, I'll do like social media posts about it.
Yeah.
When you're actively trying to brand or sell something, it actually takes so much time and effort if you're going to do it right. Like timing it to fit the algorithms, using the proper like hashtags.
Oh, I don't do any of that.
Well,
I should do, I guess, but
if you need help with it,
I will. Yeah. You can do my social media. It's taken me a year to finish an album, and that's not even the hard part done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the depressing thing about music and where we are right now, is that finishing an album should be like glorious, and now it just feels like, oh my god, I have to, I almost have to do all this social media trudgery of like just utter soul crushing bollocks to like make people listen to it for free on Spotify, so that a fucking computer will go, oh, he's had a few streams over there, maybe we'll put him on a bigger stream. Maybe we'll get him in a river, and he might sail over there. And hey, guess what? We'll still not give him any money, because we don't care. And guess what? Neither does he. Like, he's got his pants down. We're ramrodding him, and he's got 2 thumbs up saying, "J'appreciate. I really appreciate you putting me on this fucking playlist."
Tell us how you really feel, Ellie.
So that's how soul crushing it is to put out an album as a successful musician.
I think I have one.
Okay.
That I want to ask.
Okay.
That I want to ask selfishly. What is the process of going from, oh, I kind of want to do an album, to releasing an album? Of like a brief synopsis.
So have we recorded it yet?
Huh.
Have we written it?
What is your process?
So in terms of songwriting to release?
Yeah.
That's a long process.
It's a very long process.
So yeah, you write a song, usually on one instrument, unless you have 8 legs. And then you would kind of either work with other people or yourself on arranging it how you want it, if you want strings or full band kind of arrangements. So my process is, anyway, I usually write on a guitar or a piano, and then arrange it in my studio in my house, block everything out, chop things up, switch them around, try different noises and all that kind of stuff, get sort of good demos of the track. Then I would either go into a studio and do it properly, or depending on budgets, do it myself. And then once you've recorded, then you would mix it, then you would master it. So there's a lot of mixing and mastering are really, really key processes that I think a lot of people forget about when they go into a studio. Well, you've paid for your studio time, but you also need to then pay someone to mix it. Usually someone, the same engineer will mix it, but often you'll have to pay someone else completely to mix it, and then someone to master it as well. And then I guess you've got a finished product, but after sending it back and revising it a few times. So that process can take quite a long time. And then you need to find a distributor or a label to put it out. Then you start the long journey of self-promotion.
The
dreaded self-promotion. Yeah, it's just putting time and work in, and it's like churning out personalized emails and like making relationships and doing mailing lists and all this kind of stuff, and be like, hey, you bought my last record. How did you buy it? On my website. That means I have your email address. Like compiling lists, being like, hey, I'm just about to put my second record out. All this kind of boring stuff that maybe a manager would do, that artists now have to do. That's another list. We're comedians, we're maitre d's, we are marketing experts, we're social media moguls and all this kind of stuff. It's then obviously you have a breakdown after that.
And you have your Britney moment.
You have a Britney moment. You shave your hair off. You think that your album is no good. No one would ever want to listen to it, and you're useless. Because the overwhelming sense of dread with releasing music into the world is quite scary. And then you get over yourself because your pals go like, actually it's quite a good album. And then, you set a date, I guess, get some artwork done, start doing some live sessions, record yourself playing, make music videos, do photo shoots, all of this on a budget of bugger all. And at the end of the day, wake up and get a McDonald's and a banana.
And we've come full circle. So I think with that, we should head to...
I love playing music full time. It's great. Hey kids, stay in school.
With that's the second time we've had a hey kids stay in school from a musician. With that, do we want to head off to our couch concert?
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Do you know what you're playing for us today?
How long's the concert?
It's just a song.
Okay, cool. Yeah, great. That's easy. Do I have to tell you?
It can be a surprise if you want.
Okay, I haven't actually thought. I didn't know if it was just one song or a few songs, so I am going to play a song called Shine a Light. Oh, this is called Shine a Light. Whew, sorry, it's that coffee, it's that banana. Finish up and leave tonight, I'll say, hey, look at that one, don't it make you feel like there's something else out there? Well, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong too, we might just be alone. But I want you to know that when you're lost and battered, you can look up and see it, and know how much you matter to a whole bunch of strangers that not long ago just thrust together to try and work it out. Oh, I don't know the answers, and you say the same. We all know the love and the heartache and pain. Well, if you want to hear those songs again, just find that star and shout my name, and I'll find a way to shine a light. I ain't the brightest thing in the sky, but I'll still be there when the river subsides and there's nothing left to drink tonight. When we find ourselves with our own separate ways and the giddy excitement just fades away, well, I'll thank you all for those special days. Don't want to sound soft, but I gotta say it. I'll find a way to shine a light. I ain't the brightest thing in the sky, but I'll still be there when the river subsides. There's nothing left to drink tonight.
brightest thing by your side, but I'll still be there when the river subsides and there's nothing left to drink tonight.
Thank you, Ellie. That was wonderful.
My pleasure.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Nice one. Thanks for having me.
Ain't the brightest thing by your side, but I'll still be there when the river subsides and there's nothing left to drink tonight.
I've always felt like a NASCAR driver, if I'm honest. I'm a serious musician, though. Serious. Meow.